everybody, this is Patty the Leather Lady once again with another video. Okay, so I did two videos sort of back to back. So we're talking about a jerk needle in both situations, and you're doing things by hand. This is going to help you immensely. Let me tell you, I wish I would have known about this long time ago. So let's get started. So what we're going to do is, this is one of my demo saddles that, you know, is basically a junk saddle. We use it for teaching and training and things like that. We are going to do two things. One, we are going to fix this horn, and then we are also going to be using what's called a jerk needle, or they may call it a boot stitching needle. Cobblers use them a lot with boots. And if you do anything with sheepskin, like replacing your sheepskin on a saddle, this is something you're going to want to use if you are doing the stitching by hand, because if I would have known it years ago, I would have definitely used a jerk needle instead of the two needle approach, because when you're using sheepskin, and we'll go into that in a different video, but I'll definitely show you why you would want to use it with sheepskin. Okay, so one of the things we're going to talk about first is we're going to talk about repairing this horn, because there's going to be tools that you need. This one here, and I'll get a close-up of it here in a second, has a real split. So I need to add a piece of leather to that. So what you're going to need is, you're going to need some type of really thin leather, calf leather, pigskin. It's thin, however, it's got a lot of pores, so I like more of the smooth look, so I'll get something like calf skin. This here is a piece of English bridle leather that is really thin, but you're going to need to skive it, so you'll get yourself some type of skiving tool. If you have one like this, or a French skiver, you can do that. You're going to need a knife of some type. I use a box knife a lot. And you're going to need some thread. Now this, most of the time on these saddles, the stitching, it's going to be a 200 pound or a 200 thread. This is definitely, I think, is this a 200 or a 207? This is a 207. Okay, so we're going to use a 207 thread today. And this I use for my sewing machine, and all kinds of stuff. I don't know why it's got a loop there, but anyway, we're going to be using that. You'll need some type of scissors, you know, just basically cut your thread, woo-woo, kind of a thing. And if you choose to do the two needle approach, I would use a 0, which I consider small, needles. So I believe the 207 can still handle this. They may not. I think that's what I've used before. Or if it's not a 0, then it's a 1. And then you're going to need some type of glue if there's a split. Now, if there's no split, you don't need to go through all this, and we'll explain that here in a second. But I use Barge for a lot of my stuff. This company I'm working with to do their Gulf tags, they use 3M spray. It's great for thin stuff. You could do that too, because you're just wanting it to adhere to this piece until you make the holes and stitch it. And then you're going to need an awl to make the holes, okay? Because this piece here that we're going to replace will not have holes, which I've already cut a piece for that and skived it, almost skived it. And so when we put that in there, you're going to need to make the holes, okay? That kind of a thing. So that's what you need to get started. So I'm going to move the camera, and we're going to get started, and I'm going to show you from step 1 to the end what you need to do. It's super easy to fix your horns. And now if this piece in the bottom is missing, that is a different story. I do have a saddle like that. You actually have to make a wrap to go on the horn, because it wraps all the way around here. So that's a different one. I'm not getting into that today. We're just, this came loose, the stitching came loose. This does have a metal horn in there, so definitely we'll work around that. All right, so let me move the camera, we'll get started. So I've skived the edges, but I'm still gonna skive a little bit more. My blade's getting dull. Okay, and then I'm gonna skive the edges. This piece is so small that it's really hard to work with, but we are going to do it. So skive it. So this has now become super thin, but not so thin around these edges that I can't get some nice holes. And most of the time it's under the underside of this. Okay, I'm gonna move that back up. Okay, so this is the underside. So I'm gonna take some glue and I am gonna glue that down. Do you need it that far? No, you can actually shape it and make it rounded as well. But I just wanna make sure that there's enough for me to put some holes. So you do wanna make sure your edge is nice and smooth as well. And how I'm gonna glue this down, you can do either side, the skived side or the other side, but the leather has to be rough. So if you're using a smooth piece of leather, the glue does not adhere to it very well. You have to have a rough piece of leather, okay? The inside of this, you'll see how they roughed it up on the inside. They roughed it up on the inside. They left this one smooth, but you have to have one side that's roughed up, okay? This is rough, but I wanna make sure my glue sticks. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use a little bit of barge. And the way that I do it, I'm sure there's a million ways to do it, but because it's so small, I'm just going to use a Q-tip, okay? I'm going to, I don't know if you can see this, I'm going to wipe some up off of the area on the shaft, and then I'm going to roll it up until there's no strings. I'm going to rub the glue on there, and usually you're gonna let it sit until it's just sticky, okay? I might even add a little bit of glue on the edge here where I'm going to glue it, because then that gives it a little bit more extra glue or sticky, okay? Close that up. I need another glue pot. But you would wait normally 5 minutes and then you can put that piece on. But for time's sake, I'm just gonna go ahead and put it on. Okay, so I'm gonna bend that back. I'm gonna lay it on there. And I'm gonna make sure that my edges are going to be where the holes are, okay? I might even make it a little further. So example, since I have enough leather there, I might even make it to go beyond, okay? So it's gonna go beyond that only because I wanna make sure that I have enough leather to put the holes through, okay? So I'm gonna go beyond that just a hair. You can do it up to, or you can do it. But this one here, we're really gonna fight, because just doing these for years, we're gonna really fight to keep these together because this is so close and so thin. Now, this is gonna be a piece, and then I could go back and I could dye it with the colors that I need to, and down below here, if you can see. Now, that looks sort of ugly. Okay, but what you can do is you can put a nice piece over it if you wanted to, and and dye it so that it matches. But the thing is, when you're doing this, you want to dye it. You're only going to be able to glue that if you don't do it prior. Okay, so if you were to say, somebody says, well, can't I just patch it from the outside? Yes, you can. However, here's the dilemma of that, is that, say you take this patch and you put it on the outside. You are gonna have to sew here, let me use this. You're gonna have to sew here, here, and here on the outside for a couple of reasons. I wanna do this on the inside, and because this is an old saddle, you know, I can definitely do something with this. I can put a little spot on it, but we're gluing this down to stay, okay? But the reason why I would do it on the inside is one, I don't know this rider. I don't know if they're even going to use the saddle, if it's going to be a display. These are questions I would ask prior. If this was a roping saddle, I might do it differently. See, there's reasons why we repair a horn certain ways because we don't know what type of riding it is. So if he's a roper and I go ahead, for example, and I do this patch on the outside and I don't sew it down, yes, it's very strong glue, but it is not, it's permanent, but a lot of the times you got edges and they're going to catch. So if he's doing the rope all the time, those edges are going to catch. And if they're not sewn down, then these edges will roll up. So then now you got another problem and he's probably pissed off because you know what? It's not working. Okay. So that's another thing. And if we do put a patch on that and we don't sew around it, and that one I would question if I would even use white thread because you don't want it to be seen. I'd probably use a dark chocolate or a black thread. But definitely you have to ask when you're going to repair a horn, ask is it just display? You know, if I put a patch on the inside, this is what it's going to look like on the outside. Do you want me to put a patch on the outside? What do you want me to do? Because if you're not restoring a saddle, you're just asking, what is the saddle being used for? How is it being, you know, that kind of a thing. So this is what we're going to talk about, you know, here with the customer if you're doing it for money. So now that it's glued, okay, we have some spaces here and I can wait to make my holes, but I'm going to go ahead and make them because I need to know where those holes are. And I am going to make the holes based on what is inside here, okay? And you can do this while you're sewing as well, okay? So either way. So you're gonna make the holes, boom, boom, boom. You have to make them, you know, and you might also too, take this center piece and make your holes, I'm trying not to get in the camera, to make your holes go through that center piece, because that is the hole that you're trying to do, okay? There it comes. And you got to be super gentle because if you rip that and that rips out this way, you got to put a new patch. So again, be gentle, gentle, gentle. I'm just trying to do this so you can see. There's another hole. Okay, so that's how you would do that with that. And when I get to that point, I will do that. All right. Okay, so we're gonna get started. One of the first things you need to do is when you're doing this, of course, you're gonna have to remove all the stitching from prior, okay? So you can do that with your, like if you've got a big quilting pin, anything like that. Now you gotta be really careful that you're not splitting these between each little guy. So I can use a little needle and then I might use a little pair of pliers and pull them up, okay? I might use a little, I have a tool that it's like a pair of pliers, but they use it for like modeling and things like that. They're really tiny. You can also, you got to go underneath. Now there's 3 layers, guys, because there's a shim in the center of this. So you're going to have to go underneath and pull all those out as well. I'm going to get my little tweezers, like for your eyebrows. You can do that and get that and pull those out. Some of them will have knots in them and some of them won't. Okay, hopefully you can see that and my hands aren't in the way. But yeah, you've got to get all these threads out first. Okay. Because if you leave any of these in the holes, you're not going to be able to get the new thread in there very easily. Okay, so we're going to get all these threads out, and I probably will fast forward the video so that you don't have to sit there and watch me do it, but I'll pull a couple of them out. When these saddles get old, and I'm going to even bring this closer. When these saddles get old, you'll see that the top is really smooth. That is smooth whether the leather is thinning because people hold onto the horn so much, or the cowboys are wrapping, you know, their ropes for the cows and things of that nature. This is why you have to be, if you're restoring a saddle, you have to be extra careful, because when you're pulling these threads up, if you pull too hard, you're going to make a hole between. So you're going to split it, and then you're not going to be able to have nice, neat little stitchings. What's going to happen is it's going to look like one big long stitch. So you cannot be aggressive when you're doing anything with an old saddle. You've got to be gentle. You've got to be patient. You've got to be kind. You've got to be loving, especially if this is not your saddle. You do not want to ruin somebody's saddle. I get a lot of work in for sentimental reasons. Grandpa's saddle, uncle's saddle, they're passed on now. I even had one gentleman, I did a saddle, just cleaned it and fixed it up for him. And that's all he did was ride cowboy and cattle all the time. And when he passed away, you know, I don't know what happened to his saddle, but definitely he had the saddle bag. He had everything. I even still have his spurs. I kept them as a memory because I've known him for quite a while. And he's passed on now, and sad because sometimes we do things, guys, and we could be better people. You know, he would always want to say, you know, when are you going to go have coffee? Can we go have coffee? And I didn't take the time. And he was in his 80s. And, you know, sometimes we don't value ourselves of how much other people cherish who we are. And so we think, oh, I'll go do it later. I'll go do it later. Oh, I'll go do it. And then they pass away, and then they're like, but they really wanted to spend time with you. And that's what that gentleman, so I feel really sort of bad that I let him down, and that he, for some reason, just wanted to spend time with me, nothing else. Just spend time, have coffee, talk about horses, talk about leather, talk about, you know, him riding and things. So, you know, really pay attention to your people around you that are saying, hey, when are we going to have coffee? When are we going to do this kind of stuff? Because you just don't know who's valuing you more. Sometimes other people value us more than we value ourselves, right? So, and many of you don't know that I'm a life and transformation coach for the mindset on the outside of this. But another thing too, if you've got stitching that is still holding, what I would do is I would take a box knife and gently, and make sure your blade is sharp, and cut one by one, gently pull, go to the next one, cut. Because again, we want to be gentle with old leather, you know, and somebody might say, well, can I condition it before? Yeah, you can condition it before. If it's super hard, it may help you in the process of sliding your threads through. If it's not so darn dry. But we're getting to, I'm going to bend this over and show you. We're getting to the last few pieces here. Okay. All right. All right. So there, and that's what we're going to do. We're just going to keep pulling, and maybe somebody enjoys watching me work. I don't know. So my daughter says I should just let the videos go. And I'm like, who wants to watch me keep pulling threads? But if you haven't already, I started a new channel called The Leather Lady Saddle Repair and Restoration. I had to be careful with the Leather Lady name because there is a Leather Lady in the East Coast that does fashion. And unfortunately, sometimes people mistake her for me, and it's not me. I'm not into fashion. If you ever watch my videos or see me out and about, I'm pretty much a tomboy, but if I need to dress up, I'll dress up. Anyway, you'll see me coaching, talking, sometimes through my videos. And some people may say, would you just shut up and let us watch? Nope, this is my channel. Go to a channel that does that. There's a lot of them. All right, we're almost there on this side. And you'll see that, I'll do a close-up here of this too. You'll see that these little holes are not round holes, they're little slits. So somebody was using just like a really tiny lacing chisel, or you know, they may be using them for holes and stuff like that. But a lot of the times when you're using leather work, you'll use lacing chisels because they're slotted and they keep the stitch moving nicely. So if you're gonna make holes with your awl, you can do that too. But in the long run, okay, now we're in this second layer. Now before I finish this, if this was my saddle, before I stitch them, I would probably condition this inside and make it nice and pretty. So again, we're pulling the stitches off the top. We do have to pull the stitches off the bottom as well. So you can't just do the top and say, oh, well, I'll leave the bottom in. No, you've got to pull them all out. Okay, see, I can't pull too hard because I'm afraid it's connected to the other one. And then, which you may have to turn the saddle on its side to do the bottom. But for teaching purposes, I'm just going to leave it on here. And plus, I've been trying, so some of you may know that I've had 3 surgeries this whole year, actually, in a year. And sometimes I need to wear my brace, but I'm sitting down to get this job done, so hopefully I don't need to put it back on. I think I am at a new norm of pain. But, okay, and I'm going to show this over here. Do you see how much is in there? If I were to leave that there, there's no way in God's green earth I could get those out. Okay, there we go. Tweezers come in handy. Don't let your girlfriend or your wife know that you're using them unless you go get another pair for yourself. You know what? It's a good idea to have your own pair because definitely you'll use them all the time. Okay, it's being stubborn. Okay, I'm going to show you the way I do it, which is the Leather Lady way, okay, as far as your jerk needles. So what you're going to do is you're going to put your needle down the first hole. Make sure that if you've got 3 pieces, which most saddles do, that you're going in the same hole through all 3 pieces of your jerk needle. Of your holes of your thing, okay? So you're seeing that through the saddle, okay? What you're gonna do is you're gonna make a loop, and it can be small, big, it doesn't matter. You just need the loop to get started, and you are going to put that on your needle. Put a little tension so that it doesn't flop all around. And I'm trying to do this so that you guys can see it. And you're gonna pull that up and keep pulling until that piece comes through. Now what I do is I go ahead and make sure that each piece is the same length, okay, of each, so that you have the same length on each side, top and bottom. There's a reason, and I'll show you that here in a second. So for the second stitch, you are going, actually that's just the beginning. So make sure you're not going through the same hole. If you need to use your awl to make your holes bigger. Do so, but be extremely gentle again about the holes so you don't rip them, okay? So I'm going to make a loop on the bottom. When you start going, it'll be faster. I'm just showing you for demonstrations because I want you to be able to see what I'm doing. And I'm going to pull that up. Whether you're pulling up or pulling down, it doesn't matter. If you want to do this on the bottom side and do it, go right ahead. Definitely be careful not to rip the holes with the hook coming up. Okay, so now my loop is on the top. I need to take the thread and pull through the thread because this is what's going to make our stitch. And pull your bottom thread tight. And now you have your first stitch. This is why you need them both with the same length, because you're going to be doing this all the way around. You're going to be looping, hooking, looping, hooking, looping, hooking. Okay? So we're going to do that next one, the third hole. And the reason why this jerk hook is so nice to do, if you don't lay the saddle on its side to do this, then you don't have to stress your neck and all that kind of stuff. You can just do it here. Loop and hook. Now, when you get going fast, you'll be able to do this really quick. And you'll get a pattern down. You'll get to be able to move that. Again, we got the loop at the top. And we're going to take that loop. We're going to pull the thread back to front because if you see this, this is your back thread. You need it to go to the front. So you pull it and it goes to the next hole. If you were to do it front to back, you're going backwards, okay? So important to do that. Don't pull so tight you're cutting those holes. All right, so you're going to put it in again. Next hole. Next hole. I hope I'm not blocking you guys so you can't see this. And then you're going to put it through that bottom hole. You don't need it very far. Then you're just going to loop it, hook it. Oops. Now, there is a thing that if you don't hook it properly, you're going to twist the thread. Is it hooked? You're going to twist the thread and it's going to rip the thread. And there we go. Loop and back to front, back to front, pull. Do it again, you know. But you want that to be in there. So again, we're going to do a couple more. I can't stand too long because of my back. So hang tight with me here. We're going in the next hole. Now these holes are really close together. Normally they are on a horn. Can you see that? Okay, I'm going through. Don't need to go very far. Loop. Oh, you see, it almost wanted to catch that thread. You want to be really careful. You can loop it just so it catches it. And you think, oh, wow, this is a heavy process. No, I'm showing you just to see, so you can see all the elements. When I learned how to do this, I was messing up every way just because the person who was teaching it on a video was going so fast that I was like, what the heck is he doing? And he's whipping through. And you do get to go fast with this once you do it. Now, see, I've got a twisted here. Try to not twist that. Try to keep it untwisted and pull through and down. There we got another stitch. The middle, when you have your knot like this, you want it to be in the center. You don't want it on the top, you don't want it on the bottom. So that's why you pull both of these at the same tension. And then you can move it up, move it down, but feel that it's in the center, and that's where you want that lock to be, okay? Next stitch. Now these holes are a little tight, so I might use my awl, but I'm just gonna loop it. Get in there and pull. And because I don't want to rip these holes, I probably will make a hole. And what do I mean by that? Is that I'm going to take my awl and I'm going to gently make holes a little bit bigger. These holes are nice and big, but they're not stressed like the top and bottom. So I might just take the top and bottom and make the hole bigger. Okay? Then that way my jerk needle is nice to go into those holes. But again, you got to be gentle, because if you're not gentle, you can rip the holes. Okay? Got that down. So now do you have the idea of how to use a jerk needle? When you're doing this, you can actually do it with two hands really quick. Again, this is demonstration, because I can hear some seasoned saddle maker or saying, oh my gosh, she's doing it all weird. Well, it's because I'm trying to show somebody, guys. And you just pull up, gently pull up. Ooh, yeah, you can. When you get a short thread, you can do that. So that's why I'm saying use your awl, make the holes slightly a bit bigger. Now when you get better, you can pull that string just with one thing. And then as you go, you can see we didn't miss a stitch, but this one was split. But you can see how these are being stitched. So we're going to go around to that. So I'm going to do that all the way to the point of this here for the people that are wanting to learn about horns. But again, you've already started and you've got them both here, so you don't need to tie off here. So when I get to the very end, I will show you how to tie off. But it's not using a jerk needle, it's just using the standard saddle stitching finish. And if you haven't watched that with the 2 threads, go to that video and watch the ending on how it's finished out, if you don't want to wait to the end of this video. All right? And like I told the other video, I said this looks awkward, but it's not. I'm doing this for demo reasons, okay? And so otherwise I would be facing the horn and doing it, and I could probably do this horn in 15 minutes. Okay, oops. Uh-oh, so now look what happened. So we did lose a hole, okay? So, but because we have this center one, the bottom is gonna look like there's an extra stitch, but because we have this center piece and the top piece will still be okay. Again, we're repairing, we're not restoring. If we're restoring, it would be a whole different animal. Okay. So you don't really see it, so we're gonna have to be really careful, because this gets to the edge of that leather and we do not want to rip any more holes, especially right now since we did that with this one. See guys, I can make the same mistakes. So I'm gonna be super gentle unless this hole is ripped. Yep, it is. See how it's ripped? So we're still gonna go through it and loop and come up. And make sure your tops are not twisted. Make sure that they're not all like this. Make sure that they're all open. Pull that back thread through and down. Okay. Now, I'm going to show you what we're going to do next on this next hole because those two ripped together. Okay. Now, if you're replacing a horn and this happens to look really thin on the outside, I might tell them, hey, we just need to redo the top and the bottom. Let's just do a whole horn replacement. Because, what do you call it? Just repairing the horn is nothing, but when you restore a horn, is this one torn too? I think this one's torn too, yeah. So this would become a restore. At this point, there's too many holes together that that are split. So because what's happening now, again, this, even though we're getting a nice stitching here, we're not getting a nice stitching on the bottom. It's going to be like a whip stitch. If the person is fine with that, go for it. But I would not be happy with it personally. I'm just going to see where at what point there isn't a torn. But this should be what you did on your first inspection of if you were going to do a complete horn replacement or if you're going to do a whip stitch. The other thing that you could do when you're inspecting it to sew it, you can look at it and say, oh, I don't have any jerk needles that small, so I'm going to use the two needle approach and get my smallest of needles. That would be the second thing I would do. I'm being really gentle. Yeah, it's not. So this saddle horn would become a replacement. Okay. Definitely we would want to do the bottoms, but this is how you do the jerk needle. Okay. Let's see if I can get past that point. I'm going to skip a bunch and see if I can. There's some there that look like they're. So you're going to have to go to my horn restoration video. Yeah. See, my jerk needle is probably too big for this, and this is why it's starting to tear it. It's fine back here because the holes are, but I don't want to risk tearing any more holes. But again, this is demo, okay? And you're gonna make sure that they're not twisted. You're gonna do back to front, pull. Okay, so this is a good example though. If you did have split, like these holes were split, this is what it would look like. You would be having a nice, then a big long stitch. And that might be okay for a cowboy who's just working the range. But everybody wants their equipment to look nice, right? Let's see, I'm going to put some holes in here. That way it will help me not to split. Because I want to get to this part where I can show you oh, I have another thought too. Okay, so we're to this area that needs holes. Okay, so here's the time where I'm going to take my awl, I'm going to check the holes, and I'm going to make a hole to come through. Okay. Don't worry about this. I'll show you why. Again, back to front, because you see this is loose. You can go ahead and tighten your stitches if you need to. I use my awl quite a bit. There we go. So you've tightened them. Use your awl for everything. So again, we need to make another hole. The next one is going to go through here. As you get going more and more, it is going to get tighter. If you twist it like this, you're going to end up ripping your threads. Make sure that you loop. Okay, I'm trying to do this way, but you loop. Okay. Oops, crap. Ouch. Okay. Now I'm going to turn the video and I'm just going to go ahead and finish this up. I have to sit down. I can't do this anymore. My back is done. Okay. So let's get going. Hopefully you can see this as I work. Oh. Okay, so we only have a few pieces of thread. We're halfway through, and the bottom part is not going to look as pretty as the top part, the way that we have done it. Per se, that maybe somebody doesn't really care. They just want to get it fixed. They don't want to spend, you know, a couple $100 in repairing the horn or $100 in repairing the horn, depends on what person charges. This here would be 40 to 60 to repair, just depending on how I had to do it. This would become a complete restoration. Like I said, I am anal. I would not give a saddle this way. But this is just for education purposes. So we've got a tail that's too short now. We've got one that's too long. Even though we started out the same, this does happen. So what I would do is to finish these two off and to start a new one, I would go up between the two stitches, or the two layers. So we've got two layers, remember. I would go up through the two layers on that next stitch. Okay. So find your hole, go up, and you're going to do a loop, like you're going to go down. Oops. Ah! See, I even do it, guys. Loop, pull, go down, and come out the center. Okay, you're coming out the center. You're going to do the same with the bottom. So you're going to come through the bottom. Do I need to make a hole? I may need to make a hole. I do. So on the bottom part, we're going to put it through from the inside. Loop your threads. Get in there. And pull that through so that it's in the center. Okay. So now you're going to have to pull them nice and tight because everything's probably loosened up a bit. And you're just going to do a square knot. I do 4 of them so that it just stays in there because I don't want it to loosen. Okay. 2. This is just the way I do it, guys. 3. But see how it's hidden in there? It's hidden where that leather piece is. So when I do the next stitch, you're not going to see it. So then what I'm going to do is I have some little sewing snippers that I just snip it off. And I try to snip it as short as I can. Get in there. And then I take my awl and I just tuck it inside, okay? And now I'm ready to start all over again. And you will never even know that I had stopped. There we go. This is, when you're doing your threads, you don't want them so long that you're tripping over each side, that kind of a thing. I just do it. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're going to take our jerk needle like we were starting before. Okay, we're going to start in the hole that looks like we missed the stitch. Okay, even though there's a stitch on the bottom, I don't know if you can see that, but there's a stitch on the bottom, but I'm just going to start here because there's nothing on the top. Okay. So when you're bringing your jerk needle up, I always pay attention to what kind of holes I have. So if they're long slits and I'm trying to bring it up this way, I'm going to catch all that leather rather than if I bring it up with the slit, it's going to be a lot smoother, a lot easier because I don't want to tear the leather. Again, if you're doing a restoration, you definitely want to make sure that you're not tearing any leather. But if you bring it up this way, you're fighting against that hole, okay? If they're round holes, doesn't matter. But these are slits. So I got to be really, really careful when I bring that up so I don't tear the leather. That's why you'll see me fighting it sometimes or turning the needle because of that reason. Okay, so we're starting over. So I'm going to pull the thread and then I'm going to make sure that they are the same length. Even if I had a little bit to go, I would still make sure they're the same length. Okay, so then we're just going to finish it out. And that's how you, that's one way of restarting your thread. Okay, loop, loop, okay. And my needle is facing that way because I want it to come out easy because we got a slice there. And I might turn it a little bit. There we go, turn it and it came out. Okay. Loop, oh my gosh. Okay, so we're at the last stitch. You know, this is not the prettiest job. This is not the best saddle I should have done this video on. I'm just telling you right now, it really shouldn't have. But the thing is, I taught how to do the jerk needle and how to replace or do a horn. However, we're at the last stitch now, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to tie it off like we did before when we ran out of thread. Okay, so you're going to come up, and it's going to be harder because you're going to come up through the bottom and you might have to do it this way, and then you're going to just do a loop, bring it down to the middle. Oops, lost that stitch. Yeah, you got to be careful that you don't do that, but that's because we didn't loop our thread properly. So, oops. So to tie it off, we're going to do this. We're going to put the needle through, the jerk needle through the center like we did when we ran out of thread. We're going to make a loop. My thread's just about gone here, and that is because I didn't do a proper loop. Okay, and it caught it and twisted it just like what it's going to do here. If I don't keep it tight in that loop, okay, turn it so that it's going with that and pull that through. Okay, and put that aside. And you're going to come through the bottom one. Gosh, I got a fan going, so everything's sort of blowing around here. You're going to go in that last hole. Try to find it. It's there. I know it is. That's that hole. I do hope it was helpful. Again, I'm sure you've got a lot of questions. Please put them in the comments below. That's why I'm here to educate. And I love showing you the videos. I love having fun with them. I'm not the best. There's always going to be better than what I do, but I do love sharing what my knowledge is. I am getting a lot of requests for different videos, and I will be doing a lot more videos here in the future now that my surgery is all done, and hopefully no more surgeries this year. 3 was enough. All right. Anyway, I love you guys. Thank you for being in my community. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, even just subscribe so that you know, and hit the notification so you know when I'm putting on new videos. And hopefully there's something there that will help you and learn. And if not, if it doesn't resonate for you, share it. Oh yeah, so-and-so might need this. So share it. That's all I ask. Have a wonderful day and stay blessed.